Hi, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We have the hot seat here. Hot seat coffee with Laura.
It's a little warm.
Welcome to another insightful episode of our Happy Thrive Vibes podcast, dedicated to exploring the themes of passion, happiness, purpose, and the art of overcoming obstacles in life. I'm reading my introduction today because it's so good and because I have this extraordinary guest next to me. So I know I'm going to be off track. So I typed it all out so that I could be professional. Today, we are truly honored to have a remarkable guest with us, someone whose journey exemplifies the power of community involvement and the pursuit of a meaningful life. Our guest proudly serves as a board member for the Key Largo Wastewater Treatment District, but that's just one chapter of his life. With a background deeply rooted in customer service and the business industry, he embarked on a journey that eventually led him back to the place that he calls home, which is Key Largo, Florida. His career spans over 3 decades with Publix Supermarkets, and he provides valuable insights and experiences that have played a crucial role in shaping his unique path. I don't even know anybody else who's had 3 decades besides Publix employees in their career. So that in and of itself is the longevity of the career at the same place is pretty inspiring. Not content with his successful career alone, he has worked in community service. He has worked in mentoring others. He has an impressive resume that boasts involvement in various boards in our previous county that we lived in and our current county. And he brings to the table a wealth of experience, dedication, and unwavering commitment to making the world a better place. Please help me welcome Timothy Maloney. Yes, he is also my amazing husband and my best friend. And in this episode, we will explore his journey, the pivotal moments that led him to his current role as a retired, what would you say your current role is?
No.
Retired.
Serving you.
Retired Starbucks getter, a fisherman, dinner provider, a fresh fish. But he will just share with us his pursuit of happiness, purpose, and overcoming life's challenges. Join us as we dive into this conversation with this extraordinary individual who embodies the spirit of community, passion, and purpose. I did not read him my intro in advance, and I did not read him these questions in advance because I like to keep it real.
Wow, with that intro, I got a lot to live up to.
I mean, I do have 13 YouTube followers, so you do have a lot to live up to. I think I have 15 followers on Spotify. I don't want to intimidate you or anything, but I'm an influencer at 50. So let's start with easy question first. How did you get so lucky to be married no, I'm just kidding. Is it true that your high school yearbook, you wrote that your goal was to become a Publix store manager? Yes. And were you working for Publix at the time?
No, I was not working for Publix at the time. And yes, it's true. I wrote in, you know how they do that things, where do you see yourself, or what is your goal, and you get to write them down. Well, they copied them all and put them all in our senior yearbook, and mine was to be a Publix store manager. And the story behind that is my brother is older than I am. If he's listening, much older than me. Okay. But my brothers are older than me. I was a oops baby, I guess, late in life with my parents. But he had been working for Publix. He went to college and started with Publix and just made a whole career of it. He left with almost 40 years with Publix. He left with 38 or 39 years, I think 39 years with Publix. So he was always kind of a role model for me, and watching him as a teenager. I always worked at a little grocery store here in the Keys. So I knew that was a little bit of a passion that I liked. I knew I did not want to stay in the Keys when I graduated high school. So I wanted to seek another career. And the reason why I wanted to leave the Keys, that's a whole nother podcast. Maybe we'll get into some other day, but,
well, I was ready to go. People like to exit the scene when they graduate, and the grass is always greener. Until it's not.
Wherever you grow up, you say, I want to get out of here. I'm out of here. As soon as I graduate, I'm out of here. I'm either going to college. But college wasn't an option, so I didn't want to go to college. So my brother was already working for Publix and he had just made store manager. So he showed me one of his bonus checks one time. And I'm like, okay, I got to have this job. So it's hard work and the money's good and the career is good, but you do dedicate your life to a company when you work for Publix Supermarkets. So that's where I got the idea. I knew I liked the grocery business. I like to eat, so I figure I'd be around food. But
we joke that we're professional eaters.
That when we go to a restaurant, we're professional eaters. But that's how I wrote in my yearbook that I wanted to be a Publix store manager, because my brother was a role model for me. Even going through my career, we kind of like went up the corporate ladder together. He was always a few steps ahead of me, but of course he started a lot earlier than I did, and we kind of followed each other. I kind of followed his path. So if you're listening, Dan, thanks.
And Publix was a family affair. Your mom worked for Publix back in the day.
When the strange thing is, there wasn't even a Publix in the Keys when I graduated. I just knew that's where I wanted to work. So were there times? Well, we'll get into that later. But
no,
that's the reason. That's the reason why I started with Publix. But I started as a front service clerk, a bag boy at the time they called it at that time. And I worked my way up. The next position was a stock clerk. And that's where I made full-time with Publix and really kicked off my career. And I knew I wanted management when I started. I knew it. I don't know why, but I knew that's something that I wanted to do. So were there times, and then from there I got into lower management, where you train, manager trainee, they called it at the time, and then you work your way up.
You're back in management trainee for guiding my Starbucks and running all my errands.
I know how to do that.
So I'm glad you know how to do that well.
And then it just progressed, and then you make assistant store manager, you make store manager, and that took me all over 4 counties, I guess you could say, as a store manager. And then there was were there troubles along the way? Oh yeah. Was there times I wanted to leave? Yeah. There was many times that I wanted to leave. What did I do?
Out of frustration?
Yeah, just am I doing the right thing? And then when you make store manager or assistant store manager, then you have people that kind of look up to you, that want to, just like I had mentors in my life. Little did I know it, I became a mentor. So that's where that's what made me stay at Publix as long as I did. Were the times I wanted to walk? Yeah, I wanted to, but it's and then you do this. Training employees is one of the best things that I miss the most. Even my neighbors, when I retired young, because of this lady right here, she was a big inspiration in that. But
I'm a fan of doing more of what you love.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that. So even my neighbor said, what? Why are you retiring so young? I come to find out, Laura brought it to my attention. They're jealous. They're not. They're not asking the question. They're asking the question because they're jealous.
They're really asking, how did you retire? Not why did you retire? How can I retire and go fishing every day and live my best life? That's what they're asking.
So my comeback to them was,
I can't say anything. I'm jealous too. Not that I want to go fishing every single day, but I could sit in the hammock and read my book every day and I'd be quite happy with life.
My thing back to them was, well, what were you doing when you were 18 years old? What were you doing when you're 19? Oh, I was in college. I was partying. Okay, no, I stayed with the same company. That's our dog barking.
Yeah,
I stayed with the same.
She wants to retire too. She's jealous.
I stayed with the same company for, I stayed with them. I didn't switch jobs. So when I started, when I was basically 17 and a half, 18 years old, I stayed. I didn't change. I just kept going and stayed with the same company. But Publix has a great thing. I mean, Mr. George, our founder, started something that basically you make X amount of dollars. I put a share of stock in your retirement for you. and that just grows. So the longer you stay, so when people get 20 years with Publix, they're starting to cha-ching a little bit in their retirement. So, and then how I led to retirement was this lady right here. And to me, this is the way she started Happy Thrive Vibes. I was a store manager, late store manager, about to be a district manager. I was training for that. And she goes, "What do you want to do when you retire?" You know, we were already married and everything. She goes, "What do you want to do when you retire?" And I said, "Well, I want to like have a place in the Keys and retire."
Because I knew you would never have a second job. Like I knew it was either 100% Publix or 100% retirement.
So I said, that's what I would like to do, but I can't afford that. I can't afford a place in the Keys. And she says to me, "Well, if you keep saying that, you're not going to be able to." And I said, "Well," and I kept saying it. And guess what? Never bought a place in the Keys.
That was
at the time.
That was the truth.
But because I couldn't afford it. And in reality, I could, but in my mind, I couldn't. So she says, "Okay, I'm going to help you get there." And I said, "Well, how are you going to help me get there?" She goes, "First of all, you got to stop saying you're never going to be able to afford it." So, and then the way she manifests things is incredible. I mean, she always says, what do you always say? You shoot my unicorn and you drown my rainbows. I mean, whatever, you know, because she's the happy-go-lucky and looks at the bright side. I'm the half not full on the glass. She's the half full, you know. So she looks at, but we make a good team though.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Well, he keeps me grounded because sometimes I am totally out there and he keeps me grounded.
So anyways, she says,
he's like the brick to my balloons.
Now keep in mind, I wanted to move to Key Largo. Okay. And she says, "Okay, I'm going to help you." So I come home from work one day and she has this board with all these, it's called a vision board. And she's got pictures of Key Largo all over.
In the bathroom. From on our floor to ceiling closet doors that were mirrored. He thought I lost it completely.
And it was pictures of Key Largo. It was the Keys.
Retire early.
Retire early. And every morning I brushed my teeth. It was actually in the bathroom behind me on the mirror. Every morning I brushed my teeth, I looked at that vision board. So the next thing she does, "I want a dog." I said, "You don't want a dog. Okay? You don't want a dog." And I fought her. So she looked for about a year for a dog.
Guess who got the dog?
So she says, "Okay, we're going to go get the dog. It's at the Pound up in Vero Beach. We're going to go get it." And
he said, "I thought I was just meeting it." I was like, "You're meeting
this
it,
is
but
the
we're
dog.
bringing it home."
So we go and we get the dog. Guess what she names the dog? Largo. I said, "Why do you name the dog Largo?" She goes, "Well, if you keep saying Largo over and over and over, you're going to move to Key Largo."
Guess where we live? Key Largo.
So, you know, it's amazing how she can do this.
But it's a shift in the perspective.
But it is. So not only
it's not a magic trick.
Not only we used to come down here on like Sundays. We drive all the way down from Port St. Lucie. We look around, look for houses. We go to lunch. We go to church at a Island Community Church down here,
where he went to school,
and where I went to school. And then we would travel back and have lunch on the way home. But on the way home, we drive down certain neighborhoods. And, maybe someday we'll live here. And she goes, "No, we're going to live here." I said, "No, I don't know. We can't afford it." So I don't know. One Sunday we were down here. This is really weird. I said, "Let's go in this trailer park right here and see if there's any trailers." And there was an open house. So it was so run down. It was so nasty. But we met this realtor there. And I don't know what happened. She goes, "Okay." She took our number. And I don't know, a year go by?
A year at least.
And she called us.
No, we came down here and we were interested in something that we saw. And so we sent a text message to the number on the sign. And I get a phone call. And it's this woman, and she's like, "Hey, I have your name and number programmed into my phone, but I'm sorry, I don't know who you are."
Why does your name come on my phone?
Yeah.
So it was the same realtor that we talked to a year and a half prior.
She apparently programmed our number and my name into her phone. So she thought she didn't realize who we were.
It's this little cracker house, Keys cracker house that we bought. from her and got an amazing deal on it. And just how it fell into place was remarkable. So, okay, we bought the retirement home. Okay. So I'm dragging this out. I'm sorry. So
You're not dragging this out. You're
we
jumping
bought
ahead on my questions, but I won't hold it
we
against
bought
you.
our retirement home, and we rented it out. And we had a spectacular couple that rented for a couple years. And little did you know it, I get a phone call from my boss, from my vice president, and says, Tim, how would you like to be the district manager in the Keys?
And I had always told him, listen, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. So if they ask you, don't say I need to check with my wife. You just tell them yes, figure it out.
Of course, I told him, I said, I have to get back with you. And Laura says, you idiot, why'd you say
I didn't say
why'd
you're
you
an
say
idiot.
that? So anyways, I took the job. I had made district manager up in Palm Beach, but it just, and here it is, even before. Now remember, our goal was to move to the Keys when I retire. Okay. And it happened before that. So what I do, 5-6 years.
We closed on the house on my birthday, and we were living in the Keys with him transferred by June. So within 1 year.
We rented a place for a little while until the lease was up with our renters, and we moved into this little house. Well, that has manifested into buying and selling houses and fixing them up. And since I retired, we bought a couple, fixed them up, and now we sold that one, and we live on a canal with my boat in the backyard and live
Our dream house.
So that's how we got part of my career. But one thing I want to say, Laura has always done well on helping people manifest their dreams and their things. But Laura struggled with doing it for herself, believe it or not, and
I still do.
This podcast that she's doing, and this what we're doing right here, has been a vision of hers for years. But she is so out of her comfort zone doing this. She's doing very well, but this is not what she does well. She does it good. Now, if I told her that I wanted to have a podcast or a YouTube channel, which I'm working on over the years, she's on it, man. She'll make it happen for you. But she struggles with doing it for herself. And this is what she's doing. This is what she loves to do. Laura came from a rough background, and to have what she has today with the education she has, who would have thought that you spent detention?
Oh, stop. We don't need to get into
this golf girl spent detention in high school. Most of her time is a doctor, has 2 masters, her doctorate in education. As a matter of fact, she ran into a lady that was one of her teachers, and she says, wait a minute, you have your doctorates? How can that be? So
if you would have ever told me that I would actually pay to go to school when I graduated, I would laugh. And yet here I am.
Well, that's one thing she did manifest herself. And it was her doctorate. That was on her vision board. The vision board I knew when I met her had an Airstream travel trailer and a black Frenchie bulldog, and it says Dr. Maloney. So here's a lady that's accomplished all 3.
It took me 20 years, and I have 147 downloads on Spotify and Apple. So I'm getting there. Slow, incremental progress.
She's now an influencer.
I am not a YouTube sensation yet, but everyone has to start somewhere. But he's talking me up really, really well so that I can get more fans. But he jumped ahead like 10 questions. So I'm going to reel us back in.
Sorry.
And I'm just kidding. You already answered half of my questions. Okay. I want to know if you can recall a particularly inspiring story from your time as an experienced leader that illustrates the impact that you had on mentoring other people.
Well,
I know you feel old when people say, listen, you hired me as a bag boy and now I'm a DM, but people do still reach out to him and thank him, which is pretty incredible. And if you want me to come back to any question, I can.
I can't do this without tearing up. So one was early in in my career. Well, not early, but in the middle of my career. And one just happened last week. So the thing I remember the most was when we met, we went through 2 hurricanes back to back.
Mhm.
Okay.
This is in Kim's Like Magic
Yeah,
book that's coming out soon.
Well, I'm not going to talk about when we met.
No, but the hurricanes,
The
we were
hurricanes,
dating, and then I figured if you
I
could make it through 2 hurricanes with someone and you still love them afterwards, you've got to either make a commitment to them or cut it off.
Well, I'm of course everybody knows that, you know, I'm divorced and remarried, of course, to Laura, and but you know, I was going, you know, I was already through my divorce and dating her, and that's another story we'll get into. I remember at the end of the hurricane, I stayed with her because she lived right behind the store where I was working, and I walked up to the store, and there was no lie, there was 17 people waiting.
And there was no power.
The store was demolished.
Flooded.
It was raining inside.
It was raining inside.
But there was 17 employees waiting at that front door for me. It hadn't even stopped raining yet. And they were just the following that I had.
They counted on you they came there to help you. And then you turned around after they helped you and you said, okay, now we take each person and we're going to take groups and we're going to go and everybody's going to help everybody in that group at their house, get everything situated. Yeah. And you still have people who reach out to you. 2
of the employees, their house was gone. They didn't have any place to stay. So, you know, I worked out something from them. We all went to their house and fixed up their house and got it to where they could stay in it. And then, but it's amazing. These people lost their house and they're there waiting for me. So
and you served the community when they did that too.
Right.
You couldn't open the store, so you served the community.
Of course, all this, you know, all the refrigerated stuff was going bad, and not going bad, but will go bad because there wasn't going to be any power for a while. So I gathered my thoughts. I said, everybody, let's meet back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. I did an assessment of how bad the store was damaged. And then we started working. We started cleaning. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, a day later, we had the store open. But during that time, I went and got one of those big trailer cookers and I started cooking all the meat, all the seafood, everything.
Oh, you'd be so in trouble if you did that.
Guess what? We were the first ones to get our power back on because guess who I fed?
I would have been on that power grid area for my condo, but it wasn't.
But, you know, helping the community was a big part of my career. Served on different boards. And that would be, to get back to the question, that's when I realized, okay, people look at me for leadership. They looked at me like, what are we going to do? And I turned it around and said, well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to help you. Okay. And, you know, and somebody once said to me, one of my proteges, I guess, that he uses me as a mentor, said to me, how do you get a following like you did? This is after I retired. He goes, how do you get people to follow you? How do you get people to be so dedicated to you? I mean, people would jump off a cliff for you if you asked them. They would do anything for you. I said, well, be there when they need you. Mm-hmm. Laura and I went to many funerals.
Many
in really bad parts of town.
Families.
You know, and
because that's what you do.
That's what you do. I mean, there was always food there for the family. You take care of the employees, no matter what you do. They're your biggest expense is your cost of goods. Your second biggest expense is your payroll. If you don't, you know, you always worry about people taking your product, but do you worry about people taking your employees? Do you worry about how you treat your employees? Do you worry about, you know, that I was firm. They'll tell you that, you know, you better toe the mark or you're not going to be part of that family. So I would say that's what it was. Treating like a family was the biggest thing. So
how would you mentor people who wanted to go, not just, men and women alike, but they wanted to go into management and they had families. And that was probably your biggest challenge, was family while you were in management, because you and Tammy were both in management, and it was hard balancing that. So how would you mentor people who had young families with the level of commitment they would have to their job?
Well, I apologize to my son all the time, my kids. I apologize to them all the time that I'm sorry I wasn't there when I needed to be there. I wish I could have I did spend time with my kids, but I wish I could have spent more time. But I was also making a living. I mean, they had nice things. They had cars. They had a horse. They had this. They had that. They had things that other kids didn't have, and they had things that I didn't have when I was growing up. But at the same time, they knew where it came from, and when the phone rang, I had to go, and they knew that. But could things
They
be
knew
done?
you were a
But
hard worker.
advice is that and I'll take this. I had a girl come to me one time and say, "Mr. Maloney, I need your advice. This is an employee," and she says, "Look, they want me for this position." She was working her way up into store manager, but she was offered a position as we call them a Riz, like a trainer that goes around and trains all the stores. And that's a Monday through Friday job most of the time. And she says, but I'm about to be an assistant store manager. What do I do? Do I take this job? I said, well, first of all, you have to ask yourself a question. Okay. And this goes back to the question that you asked me. What advice would I give them? And what I told her, I said, you have to decide, do you want the money, or do you want the money and the responsibility of being a store manager or a district manager, or do you want Monday through Friday and your Saturday and Sundays off with your kids or whatever? Well, she goes, I didn't think of it that way. And I said, well, retail is where the money is. Okay. But if you want, you can always go back to that later
nice
in
that
life.
there were options.
But and she chose the training position, which I was very proud of, and she's doing very well, and she's moved up that corporate ladder. But that kind of things you have to ask yourself when you get to a position that what do I do? Well, you have to first of all, you have to want it, and second of all, if you have to suffer the consequences for doing that. But
so you help them understand that it was what they wanted for the ultimate goal, but that you were realistic with, you have to take the good with the bad. You have to take what's going to work for you and what may not work for you, and you have to make that decision for long term.
And I would say in the position, sometimes you have to tell people what they don't want to hear. I mean,
that's why I think people will come to you, because you you do tell the truth.
I apologize first, because that's what I do. I say, I'm sorry for everything I say, or everything I do. But I say, look, I'm sorry.
I'm very careful with the things I ask them.
It's gonna sting when I tell you, but it's be honest, and I would probably say in my whole 32 years, 33 years I worked for Publix, I was always honest. Next question.
The next question is, this is a deep one, y'all. If you could change the trajectory of your life from when you were a young adult, what career would you have?
Oh, the same one.
Same one?
Yeah, let me tell you.
Because you were on the path to a different field.
Well,
completely.
I was here's where I feel I made the proper decision in my life by getting out of here. Okay. Okay. I was a district manager, and I was in my company car driving across the 7 Mile Bridge. Okay. Those of you who don't know where that is, it's down here in the Keys. It's south of Marathon. And I'm driving across this long bridge, and I look down, and there is a lobster boat going underneath the bridge. And I look, and there's 2 lobstermen sitting on the back of the boat. And I said to myself, there's nothing, if that's what you want to do, that's fine.
It's hard work,
It's
though.
hard work. And I respect every commercial fisherman that's out there because I did it. I did it growing up.
How many traps did y'all have?
It was about 600. And I did it with my dad growing up. And I knew growing up, this is not what I wanted to do with my life. Okay. And that was my coming to Jesus, I guess you could say. I made the right decision at that time to do what I did. Did I make some bad decisions in my life, in my career, and in my home life? Yes, I did. They call them bumps in the road.
Okay. I don't know if they were if they would be bad though, because you gotta get to where you are.
Let me get to where I'm going with this. So sometimes in life you think, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Okay. Later in life you realize those are the best things that ever happened to you. So, sorry. It's tough because, you know, I remember saying, oh, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. And guess what? I mean, I remember going through a divorce and saying, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. But look.
I know. Look what now he's married to an influencer 20 years later. I bet he never saw that one.
Not to say there was
on the horizon.
Not to say there was anything wrong, but it's just that people.
I remember that song that came out. Thank God for unanswered prayers.
That's my theme song.
And I'm telling you, when that song, every time I listen to that song, I think, oh my gosh, so many. No, but I was talking about law enforcement. Because how long did you through high school, right?
Right. That was
what made you want to do that.
But that was one thing about staying in the Keys.
But
well, I was trained to be a Florida Highway Patrol.
What had inspired you for that?
Right. I was training to be a Florida Highway Patrolman, and I had friends in the thing that I rode with, and I was auxiliary with them and observer, and they taught me a lot. And I just remember, cut to the chase. One of the troopers, one of my friends, was shot and killed, and
it happened to be the one night you weren't with him.
And I always dropped off the reports to him, and he would take the reports to Miami because there was really no FHP station down here. So we would drop off the reports, and he said he was part of my mentor going to the academy and signing up for the academy and things like that. And on the way home, he pulled over a driver and they shot and killed him.
For a 10-cent toll?
For a 10-cent toll. Trooper got shot for 10 cents. So that scared me. I was 18 years old.
I'm sure it did.
I said, I'm out of here. I'm done. This isn't what I want to do. I started as a bag boy with Publix, and that's, I already told that story. But, was there, well, hopefully you'll interview me again someday and we'll get into some other things. But
I mean, you have connections. I might interview you again.
But I don't know. Let me I told you I was a store manager in Fort Pierce, and that's where I met Laura. I don't know. Did you ever share the story how we met?
All the fights that we got in when we first met each other?
Should I tell this story? You want to go ahead or what?
Sure. So you can tell your version of the story. Sure.
Yeah, mine's a little bit more dramatic, maybe, I guess, but I'll try to tell it step by step. I was the store manager of Fort Pierce, and I was dating around, and she came in the store, and I said, "Oh, who's that?"
He was flabbergasted by my beauty.
So she says, "Hey, do you have this certain kind of candy?" And I said, "No, I don't have that. They really don't make that." And she goes, "Well, I bought it at Albertsons." So that really ticked me off. So, anyways, I went around. She goes, "Well, I give it to my students when they get their questions correct." I'm like, "Oh, she's a teacher."
This is foreshadowing, y'all.
Okay. And so I went around. I said, "Well, what was in the bag?" And I gave her each a bag. I put it in the bag and sealed it up, and I gave it to her. I said, "Here, this is free. This is for your students, a donation for your class." She said, "Okay, thank you." And off she went. So first of all, I told her she was wrong. They didn't carry the candy, which that kind of set her off. So anyways.
Don't tell your wife she's wrong, y'all.
And then.
I mean, before you know her.
So anyways, I said, I got to find out who this girl is. I got to ask her out. So I saw what she was driving.
Sounds stalkerish when you say it
I
out
went
loud.
to different schools looking for her car to see where she taught at. That didn't work. I couldn't find her, so I gave up. So I'm standing by the front doors of my store, and there's a guy standing next to me that works for me. And guess who walks in the door? Laura walks in the door, and the guy next to me goes, "Hey, Laura," and I'm like, "You know her?" She goes, "Yeah, she works with my wife at the bank." I said, "She lied to me. She told me she
stole the candy."
Yeah. So I went over to her and I said, "Hey, you said you were a teacher." She goes, "I never said I was a teacher." I said, "Well, you gave candy to the students." And she says, No, I'm in banking and I go to the high school to teach kids how to balance their checkbook. And when they get the balance their checkbook correctly, I give them a piece of candy." And the first thing in my mind, I thought, that's a superwoman to go there and teach the kids, but it didn't come out my mouth. Something else came out.
Something else came out. I'm sure it was
you lied to me.
Very arrogant.
Okay.
Like you lied and you stole.
So, anyways, she came in the store a few more times, and finally, I asked her out, and she said, "Oh, no." Right in front of the cashier, she said no, and the cashier says, "Oh, Mr. Maloney."
Oh, she stopped bringing my groceries. She was very defensive of her store manager.
That girl burnt you. She said no.
I was so embarrassed.
So, anyways, and then we became really good friends for the next 5 years.
4 or 5 years, yeah.
4 or 5 years. We became very good friends. She was dating someone, I was dating someone, and we talk on the phone and we tell stories to the point where my phone would ring and my girlfriend, whoever I was seeing at the time, would say, "Oh, it's that Laura girl," But we were very good friends. Mm-hmm. We never went out, never really did anything. But we would see each other. The person that I was seeing would not like going to benefits or dress up or do anything like that, and the person she was seeing didn't want to go with her either. So every silent auction or every board meetings, because we were on the United Way board together.
Yeah, we served the communities together.
Yeah, because she was the manager of the bank and I was manager of Publix, so we did things in our community, and we got to be very good friends, really good friends, really close friends, just friends. I swear, just friends.
I mean, we probably know dirt on each other that most people don't know.
I told her things that I wouldn't even tell another guy. So, anyways, so her boss came in the store one day, and I said, she goes, "Hey, Laura gave her notice. She's quitting. She's leaving and moving to New Jersey with that guy." Sorry, guy, if you're listening, I win. So I said, "That can't happen." She goes, "You're right, it can't." I said, "She already quit?" She goes, "Yeah." So I called her and I said, "Hey, we need to have lunch." So I didn't hear from her for a week, so I knew something was up. So we went to lunch, and I don't know, I'll put it in my terms how it happened. And she said, I said, "Look, you're doing the wrong thing. You don't love this guy. You shouldn't go." And she goes, "What am I supposed to do?" I said, "Well, kind of in words, I said, well, you're supposed to be with me." Okay. She goes, "Well, you arrogant ass." That's what it was. Took me back to the store and dropped me off. So months went by, So her boss came in the store and was shopping. I said, "Hey, have you heard from Laura? How's she doing in New Jersey?" And her eyes got really big, and she says, "You haven't talked to her?"
Now, mind you, I lived in the town where his Publix was, but I worked in the town over. So I had just gone grocery shopping in the county in which I worked so that I could avoid him at all costs.
So the boss says, "You haven't talked to her?" I said, "No." She goes, "She never left. She came back like 2 days later, asked for a job back. And of course I knew she would. And she never left with the guy." So I called her, and it was months later, months later. And I said, "What is going on? You're here?" She goes, "Yeah, I didn't go." And so basically, I don't know, we talked some more. And so she calls me one day. She goes, "How about that dinner you always wanted to go out?"
We just happened to be single at the same time.
I wasn't seeing anybody. She wasn't seeing anybody. And she goes, "How about that dinner you always wanted to go to?" Then the hurricanes hit the next week. And I think we moved in together. And here we are.
We're celebrating
almost 20 years later.
And May of 2024 is our 19th wedding anniversary and our 20th anniversary of being together.
And we both thought we'd never find it. But I mean, being single at the age I was at, the age she was at.
I mean, you know,
She's a lot
I mean, I'm
younger
a
than
lot
me.
younger than he is. So, I mean,
But,
I knew the possibilities were endless.
but you never, and I'll finish.
But I really did. I started dating him because he would always say he had no intention of getting married again. And I
Oh,
had
no,
no
I
intention
had
of
no
getting
intentions.
married.
And
So
I just didn't want, at that point in my life, I didn't want luggage. And here, people with problems, you just wish that, oh, I just wish I could find somebody that doesn't do this or doesn't do that. But that goes into another thing is you keep wishing for people that don't do the things instead of wishing for the people that do the things that you want. And she's taught me that, always wish for the things that you want, not for the things you don't want. So
everything has a vibration. You put in that, you throw out there all the things you don't want. You're saying all the universe hears is I want, and
so
you're bringing it to you.
We moved in together. We bought a house together. And I'm like, so you all know when you buy a house, you have to have a loan. Okay. So we got a loan in both our names. And I'm like, oh, here it comes. That credit check's gonna come back.
Her baggage.
That's where it all comes out. So a friend of mine did the mortgage. And thanks, Jennifer, for listening. And so she says, okay. So she calls me and she goes, okay, there's a problem with the credit. And I'm like, I knew it. I knew she had.
He always gives me the benefit of the doubt.
She goes, nope, it's you. It was an unpaid doctor bill for one of the kids, but it was just funny. She had perfect credit. I'm the one that had the problem.
I've been trying to convince him for 20 years I'm perfect.
But for the people out there that think that it's doom and gloom, there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's people out there just like you. And it has come to find out, I had my share of problems. She had her share of problems, but you have to overlook it. God knows she overlooked my issues. I mean, we went through a lot when we were dating and getting married, and but
that honesty is what. Honestly, that is what was a strong foundation for our relationship. Was our friendship that we had. I think ultimately in the end, you got to be friends.
When I say I married my best friend, I'm not lying. We were really good friends before we even started dating. I mean, and and that's important. I mean, in the past when you get married, or you date someone, or it's very what's the word I'm looking for? Very
surface.
Okay. And that overcomes you sometimes. And, I was past the surface thing. I mean, but still, look at the surface I had here. I mean, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. I scored big time. So, but she's helped me through a lot, through retirement. And those of you that want to retire young,
that's a whole nother podcast, because y'all, he's been retired for 8 years and he still struggles with the fact that he has freedom every day.
How many part-time jobs I had?
It's mind-blowing, because he just needs to just relax.
You think retirement's great. Why did I retire? Let's end it with the career thing that you asked me about. Why did I end my career early age? Not in tenure, because I had 33 years, but why did I retire in my 50s instead of my 60s? Well, I'll answer that.
Okay.
Number one, because I could, because of Laura here. She had the positive feeling about it. But
and I also planned for us financially. Like, you can't just quit. You do have to have a plan. We had plans. And anybody who knows me knows I have plans for plans. So I had plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
And we'll kind of end it with this. I know we're getting over on time here, but why did I do it? Number one, because I could. Number two, my boss also retired young, and he said to me one day. I like this analogy. He said to me one day, he says, Tim, how long do you think you're going to live? So let's say 80 years old. Okay, let's just throw a number out there. I hope I live past 80. But,
oh my gosh, I'll be so happy to live to 80.
Okay, let's say 80 years old. And I retired when I was 54.
52.
Almost 53. It was almost, let's round it off to 53. So 52. The difference between 53 and 80 is what? Help me.
You didn't write that down as an
23?
interview question, so I'm sorry, I'm not able to answer
Okay.
that at this moment.
Well, the thing that he stressed to me is, okay, hopefully when I'm 75, I'm still in good shape. But the way it's going, it looks like 70.
Oh, stop.
But I'm just saying that, how many good years do you have left? I mean, everybody knows I love to fish and I love to go out in my boat. How many years can you hop on and off that boat? What age? Yes, if you live till 80, what age can you hop on and off a boat or go out in a boat by yourself
and still enjoy it,
or reel a fish in and enjoy it? Okay. So I said, yeah, whatever. And that's why he did it. Okay. His parents didn't live to be very old. So
it's not the age that it's not the amount of years you have left.
How many good years do you have left?
Quality years to be able to enjoy the things that you want to do.
I said, man, there's fish to be caught. There's things I want to do. There's places I want to go. And then I didn't say that until something happened to me. I had a fellow district manager, lived his whole life with Publix, 40 some odd years with Publix, had a record for the most time, and great guy, did a great service to Publix. Said to me, he says, "Oh, I'm feeling tired. I think I'm going to go home." Friday afternoon, he went home, sat in his recliner, and he died. Okay. He never even had a chance to go do anything or enjoy anything, or I'm just using him as an example. I'm sure there was many more. Okay, but that one hit me, and I said, "I'm retiring young. I'm going to do what my friend says." And thanks, Jeff, for the the inspiration.
And just before you retired, you had already lost your parents.
Yeah,
I had lost my parents. And when my mom passed away, she said, "Don't," because I'm a workaholic. Anybody who knows me knows that. Tim was a workaholic. Yeah. He still has workaholic mentality, but he's retired, and that is a whole nother ballgame.
Those of you that are retired, remember, you go 7 days a week, 70 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, 7 days a week, phone call rings all the time, blah, 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 to zero.
So anyways, he's segueing into the next episode that I'm sure we'll have together, where he has struggled in retirement to just enjoy himself and let go. But the analogy is, how many good years do you have left? And I have found, because I work from home, and that I know that's a blessing and a curse, because I love to work. That's my hobby and it's my livelihood. So I don't have very good, very clear work-life boundaries. But I am able to, I do have the flexibility enough that I am able to work and go enjoy my life and go do the things that I love. So I think that it's important for people to recognize the quality of their life and the good years that they have to be able to do the things. Because if you keep saying someday, will you ever get to someday? I don't know.
And I always said I was going to end it like this. Ask yourself this: what are they going to say about you at your funeral? What have you done to inspire other people? What have you done to be a mentor? What have you done? What have you done in your life to help others? And I'm not saying to go to a food bank and serve food on Thanksgiving. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, what have you done to help people? I mean, and I had the opportunity as my career to help a lot of people, touch a lot of people, and I'm proud of that. But so I'll end it at that. What do you do to inspire other people or mentor other people? Because there's a lot of people out there that need someone to talk to and ask for advice. So
some of them just need someone to listen. Well, thank you, dear.
Thanks for having me.
All right. happythrivevibes@gmail.com if you have any questions. And what do they always say at the end of the YouTube videos?
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. All right. Let's see if I can get more than 15 subscribers. No, I think I have 12 subscribers. We'll see. All right. Thanks, everybody. Keep thriving.